I wanted to show you how you can take one of the exercises from STEM coding, edit the HTML so that you can put it on your own computer and eventually put it on a web server. So you can change the exercises to take out questions or add questions and do what you want. So I'm using planetoids and I'm loaded it up in Chrome because Chrome is still the most popular browser around. Plus, it's easy to see the source code so that I can put it into my text editor. As I scroll through here, there are some things I want to check, like these images. I want to make sure that they load correctly when I save the HTML. I also want to make sure the links work. So we may have to find particular parts of the code and make sure that they work the way they're supposed to. I also don't want I want to get rid of the survey at the beginning and the end. I'm not going to do that on my exercise when I use this in my class. So I'm going to get rid of them. So how do you see the source code? I'm going to right click and go to view page source. And notice I clicked on an empty chunk of the white part of the desktop there, or the screen page, instead of some of the text. Because if you right click on the text, you'll get copy and stuff like that. If you click in this white area, you'll get just the page source. You'll notice it's syntax highlighted so that Chrome's built-in source viewer kind of looks like an editor almost, but it's not an editor. It looks like one, but it's not. It's got line numbers. It's instead of doing the formatting like the web browser does, like this is Times New Roman, it's all single space font text, which is what code is supposed to be. So let's take this code, Control A to highlight it all, Control C to copy it all, and I'm going to go over to the text editor I'm going to use and paste it in there. This is Microsoft Visual Studio Code. I recommend you use and let's pick built-in text editor and paste it. If you use a editor like Word or something like that, it will try to format the text for you. And it's not really meant for working on code. Whereas Microsoft Visual Studio Code here, which is free, it runs on all the different platforms, it is meant for code. I'll prove it to you. If I say file and save as, you'll notice all that syntax highlighting is missing. But so I'm going to go to my desktop and I'm going to, instead of calling it untitled, I'm going to call it planetoids.html. I know what I called it and where I saved it, and I didn't capitalize anything, hit save. This is why you want to use a text editor that recognizes code. It automatically does the syntax highlighting for me. And there are a lot of them out there, and there are many good choices. I'm using Microsoft Visual Studio Code because I also work on Python and JavaScript and Java and other things like that. And it's a really great way to write code. You'll notice it's got this kind of overview of everything view over here, which they borrowed from other popular text editors. I also noticed there's a scroll bar left and right, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to go to View and toggle word wrap. So even though the line may have scrolled way off to the side there, that way I'm not going to miss any of the individual chunks of code. So you can see all the HTML is there. I've saved it onto my computer. So let's look for some things that we can edit. On line 30 right here, I can see there's an H1 tag that goes from there to there. That's the planetoids pre-survey chunk. I don't need that. I could always later on put something else in there if I wanted, but I don't need that. And at the very, very bottom, there was another one of those. So let's find it. Where was it? So there it is. Please take the post survey. Again, you can, if you want, you can leave this in. It really doesn't matter, but I'm not planning to use it. So I'm going to delete it because I think it's kind of unnecessary. And then I'm going to hit save. So you'll notice that well, I can see, here's an interesting thing. I'll show you. If you want to leave code in your HTML but not have the browser show it, you can use these comments right here. So the text editor recognizes it all as one chunk, and you notice I can hide it if I want to. So if you wanted to leave in the survey stuff and actually just comment it out, you could use this at the beginning and this at the end, and it'll stay in the code, but it won't show up in the browser. So that's one option you have. So let's switch over to the browser again. So we're going to load this up in the browser and see what it looks like. So I'm going to say File, Open File, and I remember that I saved it on my desktop and I called it Planetoids, and I'm just going to open it. And I'm going to show you that some things look the same as they did on the stem coding version that's on their web server, but some of the images didn't work. Some did, like the X right there and the check and the question mark, but these chunks of code didn't work. And I noticed before as I was scrolling through the code that some of the links aren't going to work either. Like this one tries to load off my computer. So I'm going to go back to the stem coding page because what we need to do is figure out the URLs for the things that are missing. And let's see. If I go to the very top so that I'm in the kind of the right place, I can see, well, right there on line 52 through 54. See where it says planetoids underscore initial.png, this guy. That's not going to work because it doesn't have the full URL in front of the actual file name. There are a lot of easy ways to do this. You can right click on this and open it in a new tab. You could, if you want, save it onto your own computer, even though I don't think you want to do that because then you'll have to move the HTML and the image. So why not just leave it on the web? So I'm just going to copy the image address and then go back to my code. And I'm going to highlight where it says initial.png and delete it, and then just paste in that full URL. And I'm going to save it. So good. And let's do the same thing with planetoids wrong. That's this guy. Copy image address. If you're not sure, you can switch back and forth between the two. But I'm comparing here after you press all four keys, after you press all four keys. So that's that guy. So save. This is good. This is good. They've got the full URL. But on line 73, finish planetoids.png. So what's the chunk of text? By the end of this activity, so right here. So I'm going to copy this image address and I'm going to, again, highlight everything between the quotes in the source part of the image tag and paste that in there. I'm going to keep saving it as I go. I hit Command S or Control S pretty much every line so that I don't mess anything up. So it's saved. Okay, so let's scroll down through here and see what else we need to change. You'll notice that I'm switching back and forth between the web version that's good to go and my HTML in case I need to steal something. Like, for example, on line 141, I can see right here where it says the asteroid game is now set up. So I need to find that. So let's scroll down through here until we find, there it is. The asteroid game is now set up. So this link is for, let's copy the whole link address. Let's do the exact same thing. It's to make sure that the students can see the working version. Delete that and paste it. And you can see it's got the full address in there now. And then, wait, let's keep going through the HTML. That looked good. Nothing there to change. Keep going. Keep looking. There's another one. So if you make all these changes, your code should behave like this. Let's find that one on step 5. So let's go down here to step 5. If you make all these changes, so I'm going to right click and copy link address and then delete everything inside the quotes and paste it. We are going to check this, I promise. I'm going to scroll through here. That all looks good. Still looking good. Maybe I've caught them all. Anything else I need to edit? Oh, there's one. Make sure you take the, oh, well, I don't need the survey bit. So I'm going to delete this line or this chunk. I don't want that guy. And there's make sure your program behaves. So here's one I need to fix on line 406. So way down towards the bottom, make sure your programming exactly like this on this link. So copy link address, that same thing. You can see that I'm doing them one at a time so I don't mess them up. And then save this. And I think that's all of them. Well, let's see. So I'm going to save this to my computer, switch back to my web browser, file open. And you're probably going to need to check each one of them to make sure you didn't miss any. But it looks like, so that works. And the images seem to load. And let's see, here's one of the links we changed. That seems to work. And you can test it to make sure that it still behaves the way it's supposed to. And your code should behave like this. Again, that one's working, so that's good. There's more on each of these links. You kind of want to verify that they do what they're supposed to do and that they load the page they're supposed to load. And I think there's one more. There we go. So that's the easy way to do it. Now I've got an HTML file on my computer that I can simply put on another web server, and this assignment's ready to go. If I wanted to add my own step down here, I could, before talk to your teacher about where to submit the code, I can say things like, be sure to email me your final code, exclamation point, and then save it. And then if I come back and refresh it and go back to the very bottom, be sure to email me your final code. So it's pretty straightforward. You can edit the code yourself and then put it on a web server.